Well. That's the name of the song that you're hearing right now. It's from the band The I-5. They're a surf band based out of Eugene, Oregon, and this song, Deep Swell, is on their EP release, Deep Eddy. You can find this EP on their website over at thei5.bandcamp.com, and I as in eyeball, so theifive.bandcamp.com, or follow the link in the show notes when you're done listening to this episode of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and my name is Derek M. Cook, the writer, host, and producer of this here show. Welcome to the podcast. I'm excited because this week I get to record with my favorite person in the whole world. I get to record with my wife, Beth. She's joining me this week. We're finally going to get into the 1957 film, The Monster That Challenged the World. Was it worth the wait? We were supposed to do this last week, but things kind of got in the way. Was it worth the extra week of anticipation? Did you have anticipation for this? I certainly did, because this was a first-time watch for me, and obviously for Beth as well. Maybe I shouldn't say obviously like it's so obvious, but this was a first-time watch for both of us. What did we think? Well, if you look at the length of this episode, you can see, we had a lot to say. The entire length of the episode, though, is not taken up with just me and Beth. Oh no! We got Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review, and I know, we had some technical difficulties last week with the last-minute change and everything else. I let something slip. I actually replayed a previous installment of the Beta Capsule review. Don't worry, this week we've got it corrected. It is still Ultraman Taro, except where we're supposed to be in the lineup. What is the Beta Capsule review? Well, Mark Matzke is going through every single episode of every single season of Ultraman. Shuachi! And it's awesome. So he's going to be joining us here in a moment. In fact, why don't we go ahead and get to that right after this?
Nightfall, monstrous animals crawl out of crater of volcano. Great herds of cattle stampede before this living inferno. Vast area devastated by appalling new horror. A creature named the Black Scorpion by panic-stricken people of San Lorenzo. Entire population prays for deliverance.
For miles around, cowboys came upon one dead steer after another. One of them had heard the tale of the demon bull of the Maricopa. Having lost family or friends, something absolutely unknown. We could be in another world.
Nation's leaders confer as news received of possible threat to capital.
This is a city of 4 million people. If word of these leaks out, the panic of the population could be worse than the scorpions.
The Black Scorpion destroys communications. Hundreds annihilated. On a scale never achieved before by any science fiction picture. Thousands in the cast.
From the spine-chilling world of the living dead comes a never-to-be-forgotten combination of motion picture thrills. Two great new terror hits on one sensational program at your movie theater. Horror of Dracula, plus The Thing That Couldn't Die. Horror of Dracula. Dracula, the terrifying lover who lusts for human blood. Dracula, the human vampire who rises each night from his coffin bed to seek the rendezvous that alone can keep him alive. Who will be the bride of Dracula tonight? Horror of Dracula! All new and in flaming Technicolor. Plus this second thrill hit, The Thing That Couldn't Die. What is it, this head that lives without a body? A monstrous thing that enslaves every woman, destroys every man who stares into its eyes. See both on the same show. Horror of Dracula and The Thing That Couldn't Die.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Taro, Episode 24. This is the Land of Ultra. Original air date September 14th, 1973. A country in Europe carries out an experiment on planet Mururoa, detonating the Tron bomb. Something is awakened by the explosion, leading to a mysterious transmission received by ZAT about the sighting of a space moth. Meanwhile, Kotaro is introduced to the Iwamari family, comprised of 6 siblings, each of whom have an Ultra Brother nickname. Sadly, their parents are on a jetliner downed by a flying monster, accompanied by countless gray moths. Overcome with grief, Shiro, whose nickname is Ace, runs away from home, and while searching for him, Kotaro and Kenichi are swarmed by moths. They herald the appearance of space monster Mururoa, which begins to destroy an industrial zone. Shiro is located, and ZAT attacks the monster, but the defense force is quickly disabled. Taro is called into action, but he disappears in the black smoke emitted by Mururoa, which soon covers the whole world in darkness. This is the Land of Ultra is both impressive and groundbreaking in more ways than one. Most fundamentally, its final sequence takes viewers to the Land of Light with a heretofore unseen sense of scope, laying the groundwork for stories that, in some cases, would be told decades later. The special effects throughout Episode 24 are as well executed as they are numerous, involving outer space, interdimensional travel, earthbound destruction, and swarming insects. But it's the plight of the Iwamari family that resonates most. In a series that is concentrated on the influence of parents, it now asks the monumental question, what happens when they're gone? The answer lives on in Mrs. Iwamari's last words recorded on tape, that when the siblings work together, they can do anything. This foreshadows Taro's quest to enlist the Ultra Brothers in bringing light back to Earth, a great parallel to the human drama to be extended into the next episode. For Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
The Monster Bash convention is coming your way fast. It's the gathering of monster movie fans from all around the country, with a film festival, guest movie and TV stars, and vendors of collectibles, plus writers and artists. The Monster Bash convention is June 12th through the 14th, 2026 at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. You can meet and chat with actor Gary Conway, the Teenage Frankenstein, in movies from the 1950s. He also appeared in Land of the Giants, Burke's Law, and so much more. It's Butch Patrick from the original Munsters TV show. Get an autograph from this television icon. Daniel Roebuck will be there. Happy to meet you. He was Grandpa in the most recent Munsters movie and is one of the greatest memorabilia collectors in the world. Plus a director, writer, and producer of fantastic family films. Director and writer Jack Hill will appear. He was the last person to direct Boris Karloff in films, known for writing and directing the cult movie classic Spider Baby. Actress Beverly Washburn, a fan favorite, will appear at Monster Bash. She starred in Spider Baby, Disney's Old Yeller, Boris Karloff's Thriller TV show, Star Trek, and many more. Producer Bill Diamond will have a massive Muppet display as he worked on many Jim Henson projects and has original Muppets to showcase in an immersive setup. Plus, he's the man behind the documentary series on artist Basil Gogos, a famous Monsters magazine. And it doesn't stop there. Marriott McKnight, a former Miss America, will be at Monster Bash, along with Ohio TV legendary horror host Son of Ghoul, and low-budget monster movie maker David the Rock Nelson will perform a live magic show on stage. Film Fest, movie and TV stars, wall-to-wall collectible vendors. It's Monster Bash, June 12th through the 14th, 2026 at the Pittsburgh Marriott North. Go to the website to see so much more. monsterbash.us. That's monsterbash.us. It's where monster fans converge for the Super Expo of Entertainment.
I am the vampire. All living things are my prey. The undead are my allies. The night is my domain, and the dark, dank tomb my dwelling place. I feast on human blood. May be yours, so beware. Beware.
Brand new, all new, the return of Dracula. From beyond the grave comes the dreaded Dracula, spreading corruption and horror wherever his cursed shadow falls. Innocent beauty becomes the vampire's prey, as paralyzing fear turns to hypnotic fascination.
You will do as I say.
Yes.
I bring you death, a living death. One drop of your blood and you're bound to me.
Jenny Blake's soul must be freed, Doctor. And all of the souls of her victims, if any.
But how?
With a pointed stake right through the heart. He's gone.
This is Count Vlad, but you may recognize me by my more familiar name, Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. In your parlance, you might call these revelations spoilers. You know how the children of the night, monster kids can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned, and don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
While we're recording, you may or may not hear the kitty that challenged the world because Wednesday decided to be very vocal. Now, I think the filter might take her out, but on the off chance you hear in the background, that's just little Wednesday trying to participate when we talk about the movie The Monster That Challenged the World, here with myself and my lovely wife, Beth. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, even though they've gotten rid of the penny, Wednesday still wants to give her 2 cents, so.
Wow. That brunch. So we are finally doing this. We were going to do it last week, and just life got in the way, and I didn't get into too many details in last week's episode as to why we didn't do it, but I do want to just say that we're fine. He just had some medical stuff we had to deal with, and it just...
The world was challenging the monster kid instead of the other way around.
Sometimes I refer to it as the monster in the machine messing with us.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's how you know you're doing something right.
There you go. There you go. But we're okay. Beth is okay. Wednesday, are you okay? Okay. I really hope that, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that goes through. So we are talking about a monster movie from the Golden Age. Golden Age? Silver Age.
Ooh, I think I'd maybe say Silver Age.
1957. So the Golden Age would be Dracula, Frankenstein, which is the 30s, right? And
yeah.
Up through the 40s?
Yeah, I would say this is more the rebuttal to that as we get into the, cheap Saturday afternoon movie time period. Lots of great black and white movies, dime movies, nickel movies, that kind of thing from back in the day.
Well, and not just that, it's also an atomic horror movie.
Properly atomic, yeah.
Right. With Dracula and Frankenstein, we're talking about gothic horror, and now we're in the atomic age with Creature, obviously not as atomic, so to speak, I suppose. Not a lot of nuclear stuff talked about in Creature, but it's of that era. Tarantula, Them, The Deadly Mantis, bunch of giant bud movies.
Well, and I think, when you see the response to the monsters in the movies, we go from a much more land-based army, whether that's the local militia / mob with their pitchforks, all the way up to literal, armies in some later ones. But we switch from that now into a more Navy-based era. You got Creature, where you're going on the boat. You got a lot of the Godzilla movies coming in, which involve a lot more seafaring type stuff. And of course, this one is a huge nod to the U.S. Navy. I mean, every one of those scenes could have been my Grandpa Ray. Shout out, Grandpa.
And I wonder too, because you commented on that, how involved the Navy was in this. I know at least today there are offices within the armed forces that work with Hollywood and entertainment industries and all that to shoot using real stuff like the Top Gun movie and things like that, right? I wonder if that was a deal with this.
I'm sure it was, because Hollywood, the USO, all those things were huge throughout the 50s. I have some neat stories, or really my grandfather has some neat stories when he was on the USS Oriskany of getting to show around celebrities like Doris Day and Bob Hope, because he was a baker, so he was done working early in the day. And then he's a real ham and a character too, a real Bob Hope type. So I always say he's a cross between Bob Hope and the Count from Sesame Street.
I would go Bob Hope and Lou Costello.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Lou Costello in there. I think I've said that before too.
Yeah.
That actually, if you'd seen video or more pictures of his dad, my great grandfather, he is a really Lou Costello lookalike type guy. Yeah. But it's that whole era where America kind of came into its sea power at the end of World War II. You got to remember the Kaiser shipyards weren't even really booming until a couple years into the 40s. For all you West Coasters that live in cities that had Kaiser shipyards along them. But going into the 50s, that war machine had been really rocking and rolling for 5 to 7 years, producing armaments. And so all of a sudden the Navy becomes this much bigger part of the U.S. Armed Forces when we suddenly have this world empire to transport things to and from. So yeah, you need the Army on the ground, or you need the Air Force when you get to the place. But how do you get everybody there? The U.S. Navy in that era. So the Navy really did expand, and I know for a fact that they did have a part in a number of different movies. I don't know how much on this one, but they had the uniforms. They had the right era boats. If you've ever been to some of the exhibits at Pearl Harbor where they showed just the harbor boats and all the little things, not the stuff that went out as warships, but just the everyday pilot boats and stuff, they look very, very similar to what we see in this movie.
What's interesting, I did a touch of research, not as much as I would like to, and I'm going to look into this movie more because I really liked it. Spoiler alert, I loved this movie. For a first-time watch, I'm kicking myself for waiting for so long to watch this. but the people involved in making the movie were Army Air Force.
Oh, go Air Force. And that's early days Air Force.
Yeah, so they met in the early 40s in the 1st Motion Picture Unit.
Okay.
In the Army Air Force. They were stationed at the Hal Roach Studios.
Oh, okay.
In California. And they made training films together. I'm talking about Arnold Laven, James Levy, and Arthur Gardner. And they would then, once they got out, form their own production company to start making entertainment, making films, getting into the business. Because, they get it for the military, now let's do it for us, And I find that interesting because the way the military was portrayed in this, it felt more real to me than I've seen in other similar monster movies.
Yeah, no, I totally agree in that, yes, you see we're a force to be reckoned with. We have big machinery. We've got labs with scientists and, especially in terms of all the atomic science that's talked about in this film. They have the equipment. It's not a matter of, we don't have a Geiger counter. No, we got like 57 Geiger counters. It's fine. We got all the Geiger counters we want. We got all the scuba gear we want. We got boats. We got this. But they don't hide some of the little instances of, that's the Navy for you, or, okay, yes, this is redundant, but it's the military, so we got to do it this way. Or even there's a great moment when the second in command has been talking to our commander, who's the hero of the whole story, and he is one of them. I think he might be right at the top of my monster movie hero leading man list. For a number of reasons, but he's a good guy, ladies. This is the kind of guy you want to take home to meet your friends. Or mama, whichever. But even your friends. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. But he's still a commander. So, he's talking to a second command, probably some lieutenant or something, and giving instructions. And then he's, all right, man, okay. And then he heads off to do whatever he's going to do. And some little sergeant walks up to, like, the lieutenant. He's like, see, your boss is real gung-ho there, and they're kind of laughing about it and being like, what can you do, these young officers, And they're both kind of older guys who've clearly been in for a minute or two. But it very much mirrored some of my experiences with the Air Force. It very much mirrored stories. My grandfather, as an enlisted man, but someone who, he was a baker, and he, to this day, in his mid-90s, can bake spectacular breads, cakes. He can decorate things. He got to do a lot of special assignments involving like the officers' mess and pastries and things. And so he got to be around the officers.
Okay.
He had helped serve at the captain's table at one point. All these things that, as a standard enlisted man, on a boat of 5,000 people, you're not going to meet the captain a whole lot, when your job is to basically scrub the toilets. It's, not really something that's happening a whole lot.
I would think that if you did get to meet the captain, it may not be for the best reason.
Exactly. Yeah, or that, yes. And because if anyone who's been in the military knows, officers have separate mess, separate everything, basically, separate gym area, everything is delineated. And so he kind of got to be a little fly on the wall in that world, and has told stories to us grandkids and great-grandkids coming, and I'm sure the kids coming down, about what that was like, and kind of seeing the Navy from a unique perspective. And I think this film does that really well.
It's really interesting.
It's not denigrating it all.
No, not at all.
But it will poke fun where fun should be poked.
It highlights maybe some of the frustration in the bureaucracy a little bit. And not just within the military, but like there's that whole bit with the librarian who's upset about how some local politics went down and make sure we know it a lot. There's a lot of things in this movie that I don't see in a lot of other monster movies. I'm going to compare it to Creature, I think, because, it's a water-based, but it can get up on land if it needs to kind of movie. Creature, I suppose, is different, though, because they're going out to it, so you don't have the facility or the infrastructure.
Well, but in some ways, part of this movie, they are going out to a spot in...
That's true.
In this sea. They call it a sea, right?
The Salton Sea.
The Salton Sea. It's just a big lake, people, but it's a salt lake. You know, we're basically in a salt lake, like Salt Lake, except for one big enough that you can properly drive boats around in it and do, I imagine, training exercises and all kinds of things like that. And as part of, as we've kind of learned about in the last couple of years here, the whole water drainage, flood overflow, agricultural watering system that is the Southwest of the United States. And it's very different than living somewhere like Portland, where you just don't worry about, it's very important that you worry about there not being enough water. I say as they're about to head into a blizzard next week. But one way or another, you get water in Portland. It's very rare you don't have enough, you know. And yet here, even in the middle of winter like this, when in Portland it would be pouring down rain most days, we're still worried about conserving water. You know, we don't have green lawns. We have rock beds with plants planted in them and buried irrigation and things. And that discusses that a bit it discusses some of that in the river system in the movie. And I really liked the attention given to the science. And one thing that I will give it over Creature, and I am loath to do this because, you know, I hate to ever do that with Creature. Everybody believes the science.
Everybody's on board. I love it.
Like, this movie should be shown in classrooms, in like 6th or 7th grade science classrooms, and go, this is what scientists are supposed to do. This is what military leaders are supposed to do. This is what elected officials and even people at the town junk repository / library / probably post office / who knows what else, you know. They probably have a liquor stand out the back or something. Not enough rooms for the maps, though, definitely, and it's because his proposition something or other, but we're going to get it on the ballot this year. But it's a whole different way of working with water and thinking about water, and so it creates a very different scenario from, say, Godzilla, where they're kind of out in the ocean, and if Godzilla wants to be like, peace out and just get out of town, he just goes for a swim, and what are you going to do? It's a whole ocean. Like, he's Godzilla, he can go much further out than you can, much further down. He can chill and he'll just come back later when, you know, you're distracted. But in this case, it's restricted and there are ways to cut off access to all the different points of water. There are locks, there are agricultural, you know, things to feed the fields and eventually to go out, I guess, into the LA River system and the ocean is what's indicated. And yet when people are like, hey, we need to stop this now, there is one old-timer guy that's helping out because, you know, he was probably in the Civil Defense Fund or whatever during World War II, doing his part. But other than him, everybody is believing, and they don't just send, like, 2 guys out in a car to go check all 257 locks or some. It's not that many, but it's something ridiculous. It's a very large number like that. They're like, no, we're going to send a team, not one guy, a team for the most part out to every site and just give them a radio and have them report back in. And they got to like grab a big board and they're checking off the thing. Oh, it just makes my little organizational mind happy.
It is so cool that the science and the organization stuff is handled with such an eye for realism, or at least it feels real to me. And it also, unlike movies like Them or these other giant big bug movies or whatever, is like, well, how they get so big? Radiation. And that's it. In this one, and this is a quote from the scientist, I find that people are always jumping to conclusions about nuclear reaction. Science fact and science fiction are not the same thing at all. Kind of defending, it's not like where you've got a movie like Them or the Tarantula movie or any of these other ones where the reason there's a big bug or big thing running around is something happened nuclear-wise and isn't that scary. This is it's kind of failures here, and it's not that bad because science fiction isn't real. And I like that.
it's science instead of science fiction is magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Wait, just going radiation is basically just saying magic.
Yeah.
Because you're admitting by doing that movement and that tone that you don't understand how it's happening any more than you would understand magic.
Yeah.
Or angels or saints or demons or anything else, aliens from another world, whatever. And so this way it's saying, no. We understand this. Like, he's a really good scientist. This may be the best scientist I've seen in a monster movie.
He's really good.
Like, he both understands the science, but he understands how to and that he needs to explain it in a way that all these other people, because we got a heroine in there too, and she's part of the science in a way.
Yeah.
He explains to them in a way they can understand what's going on.
He's a scientist who I think really enjoys science too, because every once in a while, when something amazing happens, he hides a grin. You can tell he's like, see, science.
Yeah,
he's great.
I think it was one of the last years he taught too before he retired, but I had a really great science teacher in 7th grade that was like that. He was as excited to show you things as you were to see them. And it was a really neat experience. It was my first real lab science type class, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it gave me that love for it. And this guy has that energy that I want to teach you something so that you can understand with me. And
so that's Dr. Rogers.
Yeah.
He's played by Hans Conried, and you've heard him before.
Okay.
He's Captain Hook in the Disney Peter Pan.
Yes.
He's Captain Hook and Mr. Darling, which...
I did know that the same actor did those, yeah.
This was the first time that was done on film. Usually with Peter Pan productions on stage, yes, it's played by the same guy. The dad and Captain Hook, whatever.
Right, no, but I knew that they had done it in the film as a nod to the West End and that being the tradition.
But, this is Captain Hook from Peter Pan.
She's one of my favorite animated villains, even to this day, even with all the new movies and all the cool this, that, or the other. He's a proper villain.
He is known for doing a lot of voiceover work. He also did a lot of on-screen work. He was an actor, but he did a lot of
great
work.
Voice.
He's got a great voice. He played Dr. Dredd in the Drac Pack cartoon in the 80s/90s. He also was in the original animated Hobbit as Thorin Oakenshield?
He was Thorin. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to go back and listen to clips from that. It's been so long, but yeah.
He also played the Grinch once when Karloff wasn't doing it. He was the Grinch on It's Grinch Night in 1977.
I can't say I've seen that one. I would remember which of the I've seen different specials, other than the original movie.
But his career was all over the place. He did some other narration from Dr. Seuss stuff.
And for those of you with Gen Z kids,
the
look of this guy is Dr. Doofenshmirtz. I mean, I was expecting Perry the Platypus to come out of the woodwork at any moment. So, or Gen Z grandkids even, for some of our vintage listeners. I feel a little vintage.
Yeah.
Every time a kid at church today said something about the 1900s, and I was like, oh man.
Yep.
Don't call it that. It's bad enough when they say the 20th century, honestly. That was like 5 years ago anyway.
But no, did a lot of television later in his career as well. He also played the Mad Hatter, not for Disney, but in one of those hour-long science PSA things about the alphabet. I can't remember. It's like the Alphabet City, something or other. I can't remember the name of it. It's something that...
I could see him playing the Mad Hatter. Yeah, he'd have...
Play the Mad Hatter. Yeah, he did a lot. And he's one of my favorite characters in this, too.
Well, and I do love that he acts like a real scientist.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to say, the first time I hear there's a sea monster out there, Fine, I will come on the boat with you and find the sea monster. But after he sees it, he don't go back out the next time. He's like, I'll just stay here and work on the science. I'm good. I believe it now. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody could have delivered the line about how, oh, it's nothing, just some sort of marine secretion. And
Yeah.
and have it not convey something sinister. I mean, he just said it like it's no big deal, but no, dude, you're in a monster movie and you're talking about marine secretions? That's bad.
Well, he's like a marine biologist, so.
That's true.
So, marine secretions, that's a Tuesday for him.
And the way they figured out that it was radioactive, I thought was kind of cute almost. The guy's like, here's my Geiger counter. Cool, I'm going to go over here. Hey, why is my hand setting this off? Oh, hey, wait a minute. Why is this sample go? I just really like that.
I do. I thought it was a little silly, though, that they hadn't already tested it, considering that they knew that nuclear material had been tested in the area, and they were already keeping tabs on all of like regular daily, twice a day, I think they were saying tabs on the nuclear situation in the lake. So to me, it was a little funny that some goo that came out of the lake wasn't immediately tested. But okay, maybe you hadn't got there yet. It was funny though. They did the whole follow the carrot thing, and yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Geiger counter used underwater in a movie. I thought that was cool.
I just thought it was cool. And that's what I was saying about it. We have Navy resources. We have everything we need. There was no issue of we don't have the right tool for the job.
Right.
And so if people just kept their head and did their job and followed the science, this is solvable, and that was, for me, that was a really nice way and a really positive way to encounter a monster movie, because sometimes the people in these movies feel like idiots. Let's hide behind the chainsaws, as the commercial goes,
Right.
And obviously, chainsaw, that's a little more horror than just monster, or you don't know, maybe it's a monster with a chainsaw. But it feels like they're dumb a lot of times.
Even the characters in this that just kind of stumble into becoming victims, it's not because they did something dumb. They didn't know the beach was closed. They hadn't seen any of the signs yet that told them not to go swimming and to stay away. They were just out doing what young people do at night, on a little swim date at the beach. And unfortunately...
Well, in the same way, at another point, because we get we get a nice amount, and it's not too much. It doesn't get like flip booky, but we get a nice amount of check-ins with the different scenes.
Yeah.
It's nicely balanced, because sometimes it can feel like this is the main storyline, and we also kind of talk about these other things. No, it's nicely balanced between our different groups of characters, and they switch groupings at times, which is also nice, because it gives you more interaction between different characters. But we get some young kids that are, what do you think, 10? Some 10-year-old boys.
Oh, yeah.
Group of 10-year-old boys, and they're in one of the canals, and they're playing because it's like 115 degrees out, in the desert.
Yeah.
And so they're in one of the freshwater canals, and they're playing in the water, because what else are you doing on a summer day when you're not in school? And they get chased out of there. And when they're getting chased out, you see there's signs that say restricted, don't enter. They know they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And yet they're fine.
Yep.
So it really isn't, there's not this sense of like the canals are dangerous. They're not. The canals are not dangerous normally.
Yeah.
And I like your point about that. Nobody really does stupid things. The one guy looks over the other side of the boat. I had issue with that. So I feel like when...
I mean, you are going to have characters that do make mistakes. And you have the little girl that turns up the heat, which does lead to egg hatching.
See, I don't. That's not her fault.
No?
No. See, that I think plays into the realism of the portrayal of the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
And in particular, I'm going to say the DOD, because I'm thinking the lab is actually DOD.
Okay.
And it's on a Navy base, and maybe there's Army there too, or Air Force or something running the planes or something. But and yes, I'm aware Navy men fly planes, but
yeah,
if it's a permanent installation, they probably have Air Force too at that point. the science, though, that could just be Department of Defense.
True.
They would, because he's not a Navy man. He's civilian. And yet they lean into the idea, well, we've just installed this temperature knob. As long as it stays right here, it'll be fine. Because the assumption is no one in the Navy, and I'm not saying this is inaccurate, no one in the Navy would touch that knob without an order to do so. And probably a triplicate piece of paperwork.
True.
And so there is no, if it really was a Navy installation or an Army installation or, as such, you could just leave the switch to the dial there and nobody would touch it and it would be fine. And there's no reason to try to stop anybody. They're so secure. And despite the Cold War starting to heat up at that time, I still feel like it's a bit early days in 50 to 52-ish. I think you really get going later 50s and, of course, into the 60s with Cuban Missile Crisis and everything. But America feels secure. No one's worried that a Russian spy is on base and going to turn that knob.
True.
That's real obvious, right? And so it allows, it's this sort of false confidence that then allows this whole thing to happen. And so the mistake is just, it is in that nature of what's true. And it's almost giving this like quiet warning under the rest of the movie of, hey, maybe we shouldn't feel quite as secure as we think we are sometimes. And that feels very era appropriate for that early 50s.
No.
Eisenhower.
Yeah. I didn't think about this when we watched the movie. And honestly, this thought didn't really occur to me until just now, hearing you speak, because you're right. There's a scene in here where the assistant office manager, receptionist, whatever her official title is, has heard about what's happened, and she's ordered not to tell it to anybody. And that's it. It's not belabored. It's not, we're going to lock you up and isolate you so you can't squeal. It's like, I gave you an order, and she says, okay. And it's just expected that that's enough.
And again, she's a civilian contractor, but she's not even military.
But the point that I'm getting at, I guess.
But they say it. They assume she says, of course. They assume that they can believe her. And that's the end of the matter.
You know what? I'm going to hold this point actually till later on, because I do want to talk a little bit more about the cast a touch, because you mentioned the scientist being one of your favorite monster movie scientists. I really like the hero, Tim Holt, playing.
Well, and I did say something before about that too. Yeah. I agreed. Tim Holt, very handsome.
Cowboy actor.
Yeah.
Who
I thought had a good look for a Navy man.
He did.
He looked realistic in the part. Sometimes you get these guys that I think in some of the Navy movies, and I think because of my grandfather, those have always been a little bit of, Red October is a huge favorite of mine for a newer one, but, going back even, Bus Boat is one of my favorite movies ever.
Okay. Which I've never seen. I need
okay, we'll see it. Do you want to see it like I saw it in sophomore German class?
No.
They got the wrong video, so it was in German, but right behind the German, they had a voiceover in Japanese, and then it had English subtitles. That was a weird way to watch that movie.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah. It's better with just German with the English subtitles.
Yeah.
But I love that era of both submarine and aircraft carrier and warship type movies. It's something that is special to my heart. And yet, often the leading men are some of these typical Hollywood leading men, I would say. They're a little too tall to be Navy men.
Yeah.
Because of the way that ships, and if you've never been to the Midway in San Diego or a similar ship, I think there's some in Charleston also, where you can do the tour. And if you can do a tour with one of the veterans, definitely do. It's a fantastic experience, and you'll learn a lot about your own country's history and the way that we built our modern Navy, which I think is a good thing to understand. And it'll give you a whole bunch of insight into all kinds of monster movies of the 50s and 60s where they're like eating ships and stuff. I love that. And you're like, that's great. I love it. It tells me just how big that monster is. Because I've been on a similar ship, but it's a really great experience. And yet, to go through the rooms, you're going to have to duck a bunch. Poor Derek. It's the one thing I'm like, there's a couple places I wouldn't take Derek down into, because at 6'4", he's a big dude. And getting through some of the little keyhole porthole, where you're stepping up and over something and you're ducking down under, and I'm ducking down under, and I'm 5'3". So it tells you that you're not going to have a 6'2" guy ducking through. He's just not going to be able to do. And they typically didn't have those guys on those ships because of that. It just didn't work well. They bonked their head, or just they couldn't move fast enough to keep a line of guys going quickly. If you had to get off that ship quick, you wanted the guy in front of you moving, not stopping to duck because he can't get through the doorway. So it becomes real important real fast. And this hero looked like he fit the part. He was fit. He clearly could swim well, which I appreciate. I love when actors are doing their own stunt work and stuff in the water.
You think that was him?
Yeah, because at one point he pulls his mask off and he's in the water.
No, that's true. That's true.
So at least and it didn't look any different. So I think it was him. It was a lot. Maybe not some. I think some of the scuba underneath stuff, they had the mask fully on. But I think if you look, some of that was probably shot in slightly different places too. But a lot of it, no, you can see that they're using the real guys, and that they jumped in the water and did their bit, which I love. And that it's kind of, if you've done cowboy movies, it's that kind of actor that's like, I'm going to do my own stunts when I can safely do them, if there's not a reason to otherwise. if I'm supposed to be a Navy diver, I should look like a Navy diver.
Sure.
That kind of thing. And he's got a haircut that's reasonable. He's got, and I know those are details, but a lot of times in that era, leading men were allowed to still look a little more glamorous than what it really would have looked like. And
sure,
I thought it was funny that some of the really young, just the sailor, the very lowest of the low, their uniforms are way too big on them, which is totally accurate for the era. If you look at pictures of guys, because they'd come in just underfed from just the poorest parts of America as they enlisted and stuff. And then the Navy would feed them up. That was my grandfather's job, making all the, food in the morning to feed everybody up. But then they'd fill out and stuff as they went on. But a lot of them came in real skinny, so their clothes just hung on them. And looked like that. I thought that was great. It made it feel like a real person that you were cheering for, which, he wasn't ever just a jerk for a random reason.
No.
And I will say, the guys in Creature again, sometimes they get a little cocky.
Well, Richard Denning in particular, his character, and he does suffer for that, and he pays the price. So Tim Holt had basically effectively retired and was asked to do this because he was friendly with those three guys, one of them in particular.
Okay.
Asked him to come back to do this. So he did, and then he didn't do another movie again until 1965. So he basically did this, went back into retirement, did The Yesterday Machine in 65, which is a really cool time travel movie with time traveling Nazis trying to change the events of World War II.
Love that. I love that trope. One of my favorite tropes.
And then he only did a couple of little things here and there since then. The last thing he did was in 1971. But yeah, he had basically been done. He's like, I'm done, and I'm not really a big fan of Hollywood, so I'm done. I'm retired. I'm going to enjoy my life now. And
did you buy a ranch?
They all bought ranches.
It was like his cowboy movies. They all bought ranches.
Lon Chaney Jr. bought a ranch. I mean, they all bought ranches. But no, I think it's really cool. There's this familiarity with what's happening, on screen as well, that lends to the realism as well. Just, it feels real. It feels like he's used to wearing these uniforms and being in this position of authority.
Yes.
Yet there's some of that cowboy charm that seeps through when he's helping the little girl find the ladybug and all of that. And I love that too. It was adorable. We do have a single mother in this, which is interesting, a widowed mother.
Yes, and she's a little bit older.
Yeah.
She's I'd say around 30 or something, somewhere in there.
Kind of ish, age appropriate to be the romantic co-lead.
Oh, I think for the era, very age appropriate, especially because she is a mother with a 7-year-old, and so that matures you a bit. I can say from experience that
Audrey Dalton is who we're talking about, and she's really good.
she plays it great. She's clearly smart enough. Both she plays the character as smart enough, and the actress is clearly smart enough because she appears aware. She understands what the other people are saying when she's in a scene and talking with them. And there can be a tendency in that era for actresses to have played dumb even if they weren't.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate her playing it straight. And even when she gets in trouble, she doesn't freak out. She keeps her head and she does what she can.
Yeah.
And she protects her daughter.
Her daughter, Mimi Gibson,
just adorable.
Yeah,
oh
really.
My goodness. Reminds me of Leo, our youngest when she was about that age. Just precocious, and how can I find a way to justify bending this rule so far that it's gonna snap?
Yeah, she's adorable. So Mimi Rogers was somebody that did a signing here recently. Again, because life got in the way, we didn't get a chance to go see her, but I did reach out to her on Facebook, and I'm hoping maybe in the future I can get her on the show. So fingers and tentacles crossed. I'd love to add her up because she's doing interviews, and she actually has like an autograph show that she does, that sort of thing. But no, Audrey Dalton's great, and she's not the only woman. There's also the woman that keeps. You're working and you're on the phone with your mom all day? What's going on?
Oh, I love that. I think that was another, this is just how this is how the DOD works. Just
that actress was married to the director.
Oh, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
She played the part. I could see what she was going for with the part, and she didn't need to be a side story. That was the story. That no matter what was going on, no matter that there was this great monster challenging the world, she's still on the phone to her mom.
Can we talk about the monster? Let's talk about the monster first, because there's more than one, which I did not know going into this. Again, first time watch.
Yeah, I didn't know. So
I assumed one big monster, and in the trailer, it even looks like it's bigger than a city. No, it's not.
No.
It's what I'd say maybe 9 feet tall, but it's up on land.
Yeah, I think that'd be about at the biggest.
And it looks cool, man. The trailer gives it away. But in the film, the first time we see it, it's nothing but a shadow.
And they make good use of the shadow, the angling, and they play with the light. And on this, wherever this lake is that they're shooting on, they play well with the light, with the hills and stuff. And they have to do a little bit of fudging with that whole, we have to shoot night, but it's during the day thing of that era. But they do it as well as you can do.
You know, the movie's not without faults, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. But
I did like that they made sure and make appearances of the monster either in a shadow like that, or quick.
Yeah.
Or underwater where it's kind of dark and murky, so you're not necessarily seeing everything right away. They didn't do a full giveaway 5 minutes into the movie.
Right. And it's an effective looking monster. It's this giant kind of mollusk looking thing, sort of.
I'd say a cross between a mollusk out of its shell and a beetle.
Yeah. And there's a jump scare that got you.
Oh, yeah. I knew it was coming too. I was waiting for it. It was prolonged. There's a good prolonged one. And just when you feel like, I guess they're not going to, oh, man.
There's some really suspenseful sequences in this. And when the monster comes out and grabs the guy, we don't linger on it. It's just like, bam, go to the next scene. And it's great. It's wonderful. So when the monster gets you, it basically drains you of all of your fluid.
Oh, yeah. This creature's vampiric.
Yeah. It sucks out your blood and everything else and basically leaves you as a raisin in whatever clothes you were wearing at the time. And it looks really good. And I was kind of shocked for the amount of, it's not gore per se because it's not bloody, but it's pretty graphic.
Yeah, well, it's like an unwrapped mummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that at all.
No, I thought it was really, those were really well dressed. I thought adding to the effect of the monster, especially underwater, the set dressing underwater, because I could tell, I'm a big fan of aquariums and stuff. So, and I've done set dressing to make things look like you're underwater. And so I know how to do a lot of that. But to have it come across on film as well as it did in that era, in kind of dark conditions in order to give it the right feel, oh, it just worked so well. And the monster was slowly coming through weeds towards you. So even when you were getting a reveal, it was a slow reveal and back and forth between looking at. That was the one time the guys were idiots that they didn't know the monster was there. But there was a scene where they're just like sort of using sign language to gestures. Look at us hanging out in the cave. And the monster's creeping up on them, and you get to do that. Dudes, look behind you. If you're looking at each other and the monster's behind one of you, how can't you see it? One of you is not paying attention.
Good point. Good point.
But no, it was very, very effective. And I thought that getting to see the life cycle stages of the monster was really neat too.
Yeah, I had no idea we were in for that either. They find an egg and they bring it on board and basically kidnap it.
Now, there's not a sequel to this.
No.
I feel like this was almost a setup for another movie where it actually gets out to the world. Because could you imagine?
Well, it's supposed to challenge the world. The title's misleading. It's not just one monster, and it's not really challenging the entire world.
It's a species.
Yeah, true. Okay.
I think it's I think you could say it's a new species.
Yeah, a species that we hadn't encountered yet. I don't think the nuclear stuff made this thing, because when we're watching the opening credits, they do some of their testing or whatever, and the bottom of the sea breaks open. And at one point in the movie, they're talking about how, well, they should only be 6 feet down. We're going down to 9 feet, 10.5 feet, 11 feet. They broke something open, and there's an earthquake or something, and that releases the monster. To me, the monsters were there the whole time.
Oh, I think you're right. I think they were, but we even see over the course of the film that as they get out and get more space, every time they lay eggs, it seems like they're getting bigger. So, and he kind of says something to that effect of they get into a bigger crack, they get into bigger, and then it breaks open. Yeah, because of, I was taking it as because of the nuclear testing being done in the area.
Yeah.
And material that, let's face it, was probably being buried underground because we've now known that's really what they did, and so why not just say that's what you were doing if you didn't know it was bad, at the time. The ground, they were getting those earthquakes because they'd superheated the ground. They were basically heat fracking the ground open.
Right.
And that was opening fissures that could have been closed for millennia.
Right.
There's a similar theory as to how Loch Ness Monster could be in a lake that's only 15,000 years old when the last plesiosaur was 66 million years ago.
Right. Isn't it landlocked? We're not landlocked.
Yes, it's landlocked.
Not the equivalent of landlocked for water.
It's only fed from a glacier.
Yeah.
And they can release water out, but nothing can come up in.
So we should Mark Matzke would know more about the Loch Ness Monster than we would. So, yeah.
I was just watching a very interesting thing on that the other day. So
that's his
speaking of sea monsters, except this can be on land too, which I thought was a fun way to go, that it can come up on land when it needs to, and it sort of gives it this strategy for survival that makes it monstrous.
Well, and they spend so much time trying to control the canal and the canal locks and everything. At some point, I think even Dr. Rogers has to say, remember, gentlemen, this thing can come onto land too. Like, oh yeah, let's not throw everything at the canals. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's throw the helicopters up to watch everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that too. But yeah, like I said, there are some things about it that aren't necessarily perfect. The day for night stuff, I know it's kind of hard to do. And it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. Some of the underwater shots of the extreme close-ups of our actors with the obvious aquarium plastic leaves in front of their face.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the librarian almost takes me out. I don't know what accent or what he was told to do or how to sound, but it's almost parody.
Yeah, he's right on the edge of overdoing it.
It's like somebody give him lunch because he's clearly chewing up the scenery. Come on.
But at the same time, I kind of see him as the fool in the story.
Okay.
And so the fool actually comes with the answer. And they're literally telling him to wait in the chair. He's got the answer in his bag at some point, and I'm not going to tell you anything beyond that because you have to go watch the movie. And they
spoiled a lot of it, but
at this point, yeah. But I'll leave that little bit for you. But like he's walking in with at least the answer to the answer,
true,
if you will. And they're like, yeah, wait in the chair. And they're out doing all this nonsense and trying to get people killed, and meanwhile, like, just come back and I am a reliable person that keeps all this junk for the town, and I can just tell you. And
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to take me out of the movie.
No.
I really liked the whole thing, the whole experience. I wish I had seen it so much sooner, because this is a movie that I would have brought up years ago when I was at the Lovecraft Film Festival talking about classic monster movies that have a cosmic horror edge.
Okay.
I feel like this movie, if not already there, is at least dipping its toes into the realm of cosmic horror, in that there is something, another being out there, another creature, a monster that's going to challenge the world, that just shows up, and through no fault of our own. I mean, okay, maybe we did open up the rift or whatever.
But it was always there.
But it was always there.
At some point, it was going to come out.
And it kind of puts us in our place a little bit and makes us realize there is a very dangerous, very big thing out there. And is it full-on Lovecraftian cosmic horror? Maybe a little bit.
See, but don't you think that's a metaphor in the way for what I was saying about if you let things slip, standards slip, and you assume we're safe in the way that laboratory was with that knob, things could go horribly wrong. You know, the bigger threat could get in. Isn't that sort of a metaphor for the U.S. and the USSR at that point in time, and that growing threat as the USSR stabilized after World War II and became more of a growing threat? And
yeah,
you know.
Well, that's why that when you brought that up earlier, that's what made me start thinking, wait a minute, is this kind of like maybe a proto-cosmic horror story as well? Which is weird to say because Lovecraft predates this, but if the argument that a lot of people make about the creature from the Black Lagoon being Lovecraftian, calling the Gill Man a Shoggoth or their first Shoggoth or whatever, I don't know if I'm 100% on board on that with that one. I still feel like this one's got some of that proto-cosmic horror or cosmic horror leanings or flavorings to it. And I really like that a lot.
Okay. I was going to say, I think it's a fantastic example of the proper formula for a really golden to silver era monster movie.
It's really got it all. And it's got some things that a lot of
well
don't.
Paced. It's got well paced. It's got good pacing.
Even when we've got little side stories happening, like the girl that's running off with the clearly bad news sailor to go swimming on the beach, or even the tragic story with the pregnant woman whose husband gets killed by the monster.
Yeah.
There are little things happening, little side stories, but they never detract.
Yeah, they're just snippets of everyday life. They're just setting the scene for this island and how, or this. It is, you know, I kept thinking it was an island. It's not. It's out in the desert, but in its own way, because it's so isolated, it is an island.
It's an isolated community.
It's an isolated community. And so it functions, I'm thinking island because it's the Navy.
Right.
But it functions much in the way that an island community of that era would, whether that was places in the Hawaiian Islands or Guam or the Philippines or all these different places, even, you know, throughout Japan. And
small towns in Australia. I mean, just completely isolated and away from everything else. The desert town in Tarantula is like that. You just have the one spot and the resources in that spot, and that's it. It's really good, man. Why?
And it has a great love story.
It's got a really cute love story.
It's mature and sensible, and he's sensitive. I'm telling you, ladies, like, he's nice. He sees her up after her friends husband gets killed, then he sees she's upset, and they have a nice conversation about her late husband and stuff, and he doesn't like press on her at all or but later he just invites her to dinner with a group of people, basically.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, if you want, we'll go out with everybody, or we can just get dinner, whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable. But he doesn't like press her when she says, no, I don't do that ever. Oh, okay.
And he's good with the kid.
He's great with the kid.
He's
And the
great.
kid's precocious.
Yeah, it's really good. Now, I do have a big question for the listeners of Bride of Monster Kid Radio / Monster Kid Radio. Anybody that's in my life that knows that I love monster movies. Why have you not told me to watch this sooner? Why? Why did you let me live my life?
I'm off the hook because I didn't know about it.
Exactly. I'm off the hook. So I'm 52 years old. I have 52 years worth of people in my life that have failed to tell me about this movie. You're on the list. I'm just saying.
You got some splaining to do.
You've got some splaining to do because this was awesome. Now, when I went to go look it up online, it is still available on Blu-ray. However, the price is pretty high. And what that typically means, I'm talking like $60+.
Okay.
What that typically means is that the studio is about to put it on moratorium, or they're going to run out of stock. They don't have any more. So if you want it, snatch it up. I apparently own it. I didn't realize that I did. How this happened, I have no idea. Now, I have watched the double feature.
Oh, no, it's like the books.
Right? Shush. You can never have too many books. Yes, you can if you move.
You just need more friends.
This was released as part of a double feature with The Vampire. Also, same year, I believe, and same production people did that. And I have seen that, and I think I do own that on disc. But I am going to dig out the Blu-ray because it does have a commentary track by Tom Weaver, who is so smart and a great resource and a great commentarian. Does a lot of commentary tracks. Commentator? Historian? You keep looking at me like you're waiting for me to find the right word, and I'm not going to find it.
I'm seeing how far he'll go.
Yeah, but Tom Weaver's a regular at Monster Bash. I've had him on the show a few times over the years. So maybe I should yell at him for me not seeing this.
There you go.
Be like,
found a culprit.
Dude. Any final thoughts?
I'd like to go back and see more of Tim Holtz stuff, honestly, after seeing this.
I'd watch The Yesterday Machine with you. I've seen it before. I've played it on the stream, which, by the way, you can watch right now.
Cowboy movies, whatever,
By the way, you can watch the stream right now. I'm showing the entire first season of One Step Beyond, so go check that out. But I played The Yesterday Machine before. I don't think there's a really good copy of it out there, but it's good. And those old Westerns, I love spaghetti Westerns, but sometimes it's kind of cool to go back to watch a classic Hollywood Western, especially before John Wayne and all that,
Oh, I had one final thought. So if somebody that's like really nerds out about researching stuff online can figure it out. I was trying to figure out who in the credits on the movie would have made the white goo, because it was great. It was the right consistency. They could stretch it. They could put it in just a tin. It didn't need to be like a bottle or anything. But if somebody can figure that out specifically, not just like head, I was looking for something beyond just like head of props, because that feels specialty in a way. And I was trying to look at who worked for the studio at that time and doing that kind of stuff, and I couldn't get real far.
No idea.
I think because I've found stuff like that with some of the larger studios, but with more niche projects, you can't always find that information. But if somebody knows, I'd be interested, because, wow, that was some great goo. It showed up on camera, which is hard to do. Like, even the actors, you could tell, really didn't love interacting with it. Like, it was distasteful to touch.
Yeah.
Which I know Derek has a thing about certain textures. So, yeah, you could just tell they were uncomfortable touching it, which made it great. It played really well.
It was just your typical marine secretion. That's
exactly.
The subtitle of this episode, Bride of Monster Kid Radio, number 66. Typical marine secretion. No, ew. Well, Beth, thank you for watching this.
Absolutely.
I know we were both pretty overwhelmed last week. I think it was worth the wait, kind of, even though I wish I hadn't waited so long to see this.
Right.
This turned out to be really, really good. I was a little worried because it was a first-time viewing for me. And sometimes, the movies that I watch are not always going to strike with my partner. Like when we go see Phantasm later this month, I'm a little worried. I'm nervous. So, by the way,
Try anything once.
There we go.
Except jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. That's insane. They were doing that in this movie a lot. And
yeah. Diving exercises and stuff,
I'll fly the plane. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I won't go anywhere near that. I mentioned Phantasm. That is playing at the end of the month at the Pollock Cinemas in Tempe. It's part of the Terror Trader Spookorama. It's the last Thursday of the month, and Beth has already said that she'd be willing to go with me to see it.
Yeah.
And because it's the 1970s, I think we're going to talk about it here on the show.
Okay.
If we talk about Dawn of the Dead, which we have,
yeah,
I think we can talk about Phantasm. I love Phantasm.
I think you can do 70s movies if they still fit the rules of the type of movie, because horror and scary movies take a very different turn during the 70s.
Yep.
And then really get going in the 80s, let's be honest. Like
movies like
Flash or horror and stuff really. Yeah.
Psycho kind of lays the groundwork.
That's early days.
So then things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes out.
But Psycho, you're not seeing anything.
No, you're really not. It's a lot implied. But you get Psycho, then you get Night of the Living Dead, then you get Texas Chainsaw, and the paradigm has shifted big time.
And so I think you can still include 70s movies if they meet the feel and criteria of that 30s to 60s era. Ugh.
I don't. You know what? You're going to let me know if it does when we watch it. I'm excited.
Hey, I have some unique takes on things, so
I'm super, super excited. And I'm excited every time that you are the guest on the show. So thank you for doing this. And yeah. Do you want to go watch the movie again?
Right now?
I got it on Blu-ray. Didn't you hear me earlier? Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of the podcast of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. But the Bride of Monster Kid Radio experience doesn't end here. No. You need to head over to monsterkidradio.net to find links to everything that we've talked about in this episode of the podcast. There's even an Amazon affiliate link if you wanted to pick up this movie on Blu-ray for yourself. Well, please follow the link that I've put over at monsterkidradio.net because it helps us out. Anytime you buy anything on Amazon, please consider using the Amazon affiliate link that you're going to find over there at our home page at monsterkidradio.net. You know what else you're going to find over there? Our contact information. You can email me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com or call and leave a voicemail at 360-524-2484. If you have any thoughts about the monster that challenged the world or anything else that we've talked about here on the show, or maybe something that you think we should talk about here on the show, we'd love to hear from you. So please drop me a line. Also, please consider help spreading the word. Big shout out to those of you who have been reposting or sharing posts, links to the episode over on Facebook. I really appreciate it. I'd actually start naming you off, but I'm afraid that I'm going to miss one or two, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but I do want to give a shout out to all of you who have done that. So thank you so much. Please consider doing that if you are active on Facebook. If you're active on X or Blue Sky, please consider sharing the posts over there. Maybe pop on over to Reddit or the Classic Horror Film Board and get involved over there and let people know about Bride of Monster Kid Radio. We are trying to help grow the show this year. We want 2026 to be the year that this becomes the podcast that challenged the world. Okay, maybe not quite. That sounds a little aggressive, but you know what I mean. Also, you can follow us over on Patreon, patreon.com/monsterkidradio. This is where you're going to find the show notes for the episode that include what's coming up on the next episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. I typically go on a social media blitz Wednesday or Thursday, posting the show notes for all of the episodes. Just letting people know that it did come out earlier in the week. But over on Patreon, this is the only place where I announce what the next episode is going to be. So please join us over there on Patreon as a free member. That's all you need to be, is a free member, and you get access to that information. Although if you want to help us out with a little bit of scratch, that helps us out too, because everything you do to help bolster what we do here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio just makes the podcast better for all of you. So thank you for those of you who already do that. Please consider doing that, or at least, like I said, spreading the word. I really enjoyed chatting with Beth about the monster that challenged the world, and I meant it. I meant every word. And the more I think about it, the more I think this movie is going to make its way into my top 10. No, scratch that. Top 5 classic monster movies. I really, really loved this film. Maybe I'm stretching. Maybe I'm jumping to some conclusions when I talk about the cosmic horrorness of the whole thing. Maybe I'm off base. I don't know. I'd like to hear what you think. Again, our contact information is on our website. We'd love to hear from you. And, if you have thoughts about what Beth and I talked about, we'd love to include you in an upcoming episode of the show. As I mentioned in the recording, Beth and I did not get a chance to go to the signing with Mimi from this film, nor did we get a chance to go to the signing with Butch Patrick. But that doesn't mean that we're giving up. I am trying to get Mimi on the show. I would love to do an interview with her, and I'd like to get some other people on the show as well. So if you have any connections or suggestions for people to reach out to do interviews with, we haven't done a bona fide interview here on the show in a long time. We've had people come on that are involved in other projects to talk about a movie, but I haven't done a flat out interview in a while, and I kind of miss it. So I would love to maybe look into doing some more of that this year as well. Heck, if you're listening to this show and you were involved in a classic monster movie or not so classic, I'd love to talk to you. Please reach out to me and we'll figure out a way to make that happen. That would be a lot of fun. I am going to be appearing on somebody else's podcast here soon. Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters is what it was called before. Now they are shifting gears. So I appeared on their show a while back when they were talking about the classic monsters. I talked about a Frankenstein film with them. Well, they are shifting gears to talk about slasher films, and they know that even though I'm a big old monster kid, I also love Friday the 13th. I know. And they're going to have me on to talk about that. So I'll make sure I put a link over on our website when that goes live. I haven't recorded with them yet. It'll be coming up here soon. Also, Gathering of the Ghouls, the convention that the Terror Trader puts on over here, is now accepting panel suggestions. And I didn't think they did panels last year, or at least opened it up. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention to it. Either way, I'm going to be submitting a panel to them. So fingers and tentacles crossed, they accept us for that as well, because I would love to get back into doing more panels and events and appearing on other people's podcasts and that sort of thing. So, hey, if you're a podcaster and would love to have this monster kid join you, let me know. I'll talk about monster movies. I'll talk about Friday the 13th. I'll talk about podcasting. I'll talk about writing. I'll talk about my fiction. Heck, I'll talk about my cat. I'll even bring my cat. I love appearing on other people's shows and getting more involved in things. So I look forward to hearing from you if you are able to, hook a brother up. Just saying. And finally, I did mention this when I was recording with Beth, and I think I left it in the recording that you heard, twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. Right now, I am running the entire first season of One Step Beyond. This is such a cool series. If you haven't watched One Step Beyond, this is an anthology show in the vein of The Twilight Zone, except it's pre-Twilight Zone. You got a narrator, introducer guy introducing... Wow, introducer guy. Really? Really? It is after 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm getting a little punchy. Anyway, One Step Beyond, created by John Newland. He's introducing the show and guiding us on these half-hour excursions into just weird stuff going on. There's a Julie Adams episode. There's a really cool, just really cool. It's really cool. Anyway, go check it out over at twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. It's free to watch. It's over 9 hours of just really cool classic genre television. And it's the only time I'm going to encourage you to chat and talk while you're watching something because there is a free chat going on the entire time. And I'm going to be running this for at least a week. And then I'm trying to get season 2 ready to run maybe in a week and a half or so. So stay tuned for that. Follow us over at twitch.tv/MonsterKidRadio. That's enough calls to action. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Deep Swell is copyright 2025, the I-5. You can find it on their EP release, Deep Eddy. You can find them at thei5.bandcamp.com. That's the I-E-Y-E 5 F-I-V-E .bandcamp.com. Check him out. Let them know that you heard about him here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week. Ciao.